Good day, VC. Yes, it's time to talk about my favorite, not the best, my favorite music, both newly released and archival for 2024. You all love this topic. Everyone's doing it. Mine will be a little different. I do have a top 20 of new music and then a top, 12. I won't show everything in the archival section, but I will post the list of my entire list below in the comments. You can read to your heart's content. And since I'm not putting in music today, clips, sound clips, I will also put a link to my radio show I did on Saturday, in which I covered this exact topic. And for 2 hours, I played a lot of these records with a guest, a friend of mine, Anna. So she played some songs that were her favorite for her year, some of which certainly coincided for me. So I'll just refer you to that radio show, and obviously you can look these up. I'm going to try to do this on the quick side, so we're not doing the full absorption on each of these. We're going to run down the list and talk about them quickly. And a bunch of these I really wanted to do because I've not talked about some of these records this year. So we have 20 new music and, like I said, 12 archival. Let's get into the new music, which are not in any particular order until I get to the top 10. Then it's done from 10 to 1. The archival will all show sort of just together. But let's start. And I want to start with, like I said, I do this kind of quick, not going to take them out of the sleeves much. I have to put in my two friends' bands that released records this year. They were really excellent work. Chimes of Bayonets, their first full-length album released this year on Peter Walkie Records out of Buffalo. Replicator and 1800 and Froze to Death, the Thirds album. Both of these bands are local to here. This band, 1800 and Froze to Death, has been around since like 2000, going to Fredonia State. So these guys, all original members, put out a record this year. Both great. I will link to their band camps because you should buy these records if you can. If you like post-hardcore, angular sort of indie rock, that kind of thing. Chimes of Bayonets, 1800 and Froze to Death. Their third full-length album, by the way. This part 2 of Ghosted. This does not include Jim O'Rourke, but includes Oren Ambarchi, Johan Berthling, and Andreas Werliin on the Drag City label. Really great combination of minimal music, jazz, and like dub, and a little bit of an electronic feel, we'll say. Ghosted 2 on Drag City. Beautiful record. I know, Never Modern. Christopher, you know this one. Here's one, a bit of a supergroup, members of T-Vec and Steve Shelley playing drums on this band. Winged Wheel, I talked about this in one of my streams. This is Big Hotel on the 1XU label. Sort of very motoric influence on this. A little bit of a sort of shoegaze, but motoric for sure. A bit of a Sonic Youth influence for sure. You can hear Steve Shelley. He plays on this record. This is their second record for 12XU. The first one did not include Steve Shelley, so check out Big Hotel. Alright, we got to talk about Godspeed, You Black Emperor. I haven't brought this up yet. But I am a big fan of this album, and their last album I like even better, but I love this one. And these are my favorite Godspeed records, these current ones. The title is, it's not actually listed, but it's a long title. You can see it below. And it references the amount of people dead in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Which is sad, obviously, and something we're still dealing with, but I got to see this band in February, March, early this year, and it was awesome. Really converted me to a full-time Godspeed fan, and I do really like the early music, but I love this record and the previous one. And this is the record we're hearing now, and I only got into this in the last month. It was a Christmas gift, actually, so yeah, just a few weeks old, but this thing is killer, and it's in my list. It's Matt Ball, who actually opened for Godspeed in the show I saw him, so I can contest to what he did here. He's in the band Big Brave, and it's all amplified guitar, solo guitar, where he's just creating sort of textures and ambient sound. It's not a sort of drone album. It's not just sort of a heavy drone album. There's texture and sort of detail. The nuances of Ball's slowly unfolding songs are what make amplified guitar so compelling. Many musicians have explored guitar feedback in drones, but Ball emphasizes the process of building and rebuilding masses of sound from some small phrases, stacking slight changes into towering structures. That's from Pitchfork. This is on the Garrote label, and he's on the band Big Brave, which I believe is on Constellation. Canadian artist. Yeah, I saw him do this. He plays with feedback. He plays with how the amps sound. It's not just him sort of making low rumbles. It's really artfully done. I love this album. And there's another record, obviously, this is amplified guitar too. So that's what we're listening to right now, if you didn't know. Here's one I haven't talked about yet, but I love debut release, I should say, by Irene Bianco, Kronblade. This is on the Permanent Draft label. This was recommended via the Valentini Magaletti label. I should say via her Bandcamp. And this is stunning. All percussion, but she's playing a whole bunch of other things, and I love these records where it's a percussionist sort of creating their own orchestra. It includes has a noise element to it, but the first track, Tuesdays, are our Saturdays. I highly recommend streaming that track. Gorgeous stuff. You'll love this if you like Magaletti, and if you just like sort of ambient percussion, we'll say. The title again is Cornblade by Irene Bianco. I did really enjoy the new Seefeel EP. I have not gotten the second one, like the sort of elements of this record, but it's called Everything Squared. It's really an EP, really sort of picking up where they left off, but certainly, leaning on that dubby influence they have. It's on the Warp label. They're all here, Mark Clifford and Sarah Peacock, plus Shigeru Ishihara. So it's a trio. It's a 6-track EP. Really well done. This was like sold out, so I had to get this from Lunchbox Records, actually. One of Dave and John's local spots. Excellent one. Here's one I talked about, Jim White, All Hits Memories, another percussion record. But Jim White of 33, really showing that he can do it all. He was in the Hard Quartet. That is not on my list. I enjoyed that record. I actually did buy that record. But he released like 3 records this year, including the Marissa Anderson. And by the way, everything I'm showing, it's almost like these are I only bought 30 new records maybe from new bands because those are the ones I definitely wanted to have. So I previewed plenty of things, I just didn't buy them. So essentially if I bought it, it was going to make the list in some way or get close to it. So yeah, All Hits Memories. I also talked about this on my stream on Drag City. Jim White. I had to throw in this. This is a really impressive second solo album by Michael Muller. Mirror Music, yes, I'll link to the interview we did. Michael, good pal of mine, made a standout record. Certainly one of his strongest records, bar none, Balmoré or anything, on the Deutsche Grammophon label. I won't talk too much about this because we did a whole hour interview. I'll link to that below, or you can just sift through the channel. Believe copies are still available, not totally sure. Check it out, Michael Muller, Mirror Music. Great work, Michael. I don't think I've talked about this yet. Bill Orcutt Guitar Quartet, 4 guitars live. You have Bill Orcutt, of course, of Harry Pussy, I've been loving everything he's been doing recently on his Palilalia label. Wendy Eisenberg, great artist. I didn't buy her new album yet, but I really like it, so I didn't really have time to consider for this list, but it's called Viewfinder. Check that out. Hopefully I'll get that at some point. Ava Mendoza, great guitarist as well. And then Shane, I'm forgetting his last name. Here they all are. And this is a double LP of the 4 of them, just guitars, just sort of playing off each other, playing with each other, of course. Atonally and not. Sometimes melodic, sometimes not. It's excellent stuff. If you like what Bill Orcutt's been doing recently, absolutely you should grab that. And now here's the 10 that I have in order. And 2 of these I have to thank my friend Stunt Rock Confusion for his continual ears to the ground, finding new stuff that I would have probably missed. And one of them I definitely would have missed. This one I probably would have been aware of, but probably wouldn't have bought it. And I'm glad I did because it's already fetching a lot of money. It's this one, the Inyege tapes. Ekuka Morris Sirikiti, his debut record, doing thumb piano. Boy, is this good. Some of it's sort of hypnotic, trance-inducing, him just singing over thumb piano, and then some other tracks have a bit of a groove to them. All of them hypnotic. Beautiful record. This one, Stunty championed a couple times, and by the second time he championed it, I was like, yeah, I'm feeling this. So I'm glad I ordered it from Europe, or I guess it's from Africa, right? I think. I actually don't know where the label's based. Well, no, right, it's Uganda, right. He's from Uganda. The label's Uganda. But anyway, I had to order it abroad, and it was worth it. I'm glad I did. This was a fantastic pick. Band I talked about at the Wilco Festival. One of my best times this year was going to Solid Sound and finding out about Hor Lords. This is their live record release on the Revenge International label. We saw them live. They blew our minds. A band I've known about, been around for 10 years. Just haven't checked them out. And their records are cheap. You can get all their records cheap, pretty much. But I recommend getting this live record. It's fantastic. They reproduce what they do well. They use the noise sort of samples that they put in between songs. That's all in there. And then again, a West African no wave sort of liquid style groove they get. It's fantastic. It's great. This band's great. This is called As It Happened. As It Happened live on Revenge International. Definitely check this one out. Another one that I came up and talked about on the streams. This one, I think people were really into this one. I think who heard it. It's Amelia Cuny, Werner Durand, and Uli Human. Their collaborative record for the Agire label, Clearing. A bit of a almost Italian feel to what they're doing here, blending ethnographic and electronic sounds. Excuse me. As you can see here, Cuny's doing the vocals, Durand, PVC, clarinet, soprano sax, penne, kalimba, and drones, Holman, frame drums, cam, gira, electronic guitar, electronics, so you could get an idea of where this is going. I think it's still available. You might be able to find a copy. I think they sold out, but there's probably stores that still have copies for the normal price. An excellent record. Don't know if I've talked about this one yet, but the return record from Field Toral. I'll take this one out just because I want to show this beautiful image. This is Spectral Evolution on the Jim O'Rourke Mokai label. One long track, and boy does it evolve. And does it take you places. There's parts that are sort of serene and beautiful that slowly start bringing a little bit of discordancy and just unsettling feel. But then it sort of evolves out of that, and it's all Toral just sort of essentially creating a wonderful soundscape. It was out of print for a second, but it's back now. Yeah, I have my information down here. I have some notes. Improvised electronics. He was setting up the instruments to almost improvise and sort of have a mind of themselves. Anyway, I talked about this in one of my vinyl absorptions, so I'm sure you could find it if you want to go back. This I haven't been saying the numbers. This is number 7. Number 6, and I agree with Dave. This Voices of Bashara. Dave, Local Bandography, love this one. His number 1 jazz record. It's up there for me, number 6. Tom Skinner, Voices of Bashara live. Wow, it's fucking good. Live at Mew, I believe it is, with Kareem Days, Chelsea Carmichael, Tom Herbert, and Robert Stillman. Yeah, my favorite track is probably Camille, which is very near and dear to me. That was my mom's name. So that's my favorite track, but the whole thing is great. Yeah, Kareem Days on the cello, really a knockout. Highly recommend getting this if you still can on the International Anthem. And here's the other record, Stunty Champion. Boy, is this a fantastic droney folk record by Daisy Rickman, self-released. Howl. Another one I had to import from the UK. I'm really glad I did. It's a repress. This is one of the ones on purple vinyl, 500 copies with an art print, but the previous version is going for money. This might be now too. I think she's going to repress it. But she's singing in an old Irish, I believe it is, for some of the songs. And others is in English, but I think she's Irish. Sorry if I'm wrong on this, but she does everything on here. Vocals, acoustic guitar, 12-string guitar, double bass, drums, percussion, sitar, cello, bouzouki, banjo, accordion, clarinet, fiddle, synthesizer. Wow, is she talented, and it doesn't sound like it's a ton of shit going on. Everything sounds like it's in the right place. Her voice is deep, like a Nico or Bridget St. John, but it's perfect with this. It's like a really awesome morning record, we'll say it. Like, look at that. Boy, she's good. I'm going to be looking for her. I actually got her other record too, and that's also great. So that was my number 5. Number 4. I can't say enough about Chris Corsano's proper debut release after a crap load of different collaborations with you name it. I won't get into it, but the key became the important thing and then just faded away. It does feature some of his sort of improvised percussion and sort of noise that he does, but there's at least 2 tracks where he's making almost like a fucked up post-punk, and he plays the guitar on this, he plays everything on it. You can see the theme for me is like these solo records per se. I don't have Missions and the Full Measure Washdown. I know are 2 that are a little more immediate and not just sort of a cacophony, which is on here too, and very great and very much worth your time. But this is a really touching record. He recorded over many years while he was taking care of his dad, who was suffering from Alzheimer's. So these titles are all things his dad said. There's a great interview on Creative Control, the Canadian podcast with Vish, which was well worth your time if you have a minute or an hour. I just listened to this again, and it still holds up. This came out over the summer, I think. Recorded April to June 2020. Except for one track, which was actually recorded 10 years earlier. So very much a full coming of age, almost like coming to terms almost. They're a real supplement of efforts from Chris Corsano. Number 4. 3, and this is a very specific list. I mean, these could all be in different arrangements, but the top 5, top 10 are really the ones I love the most. This is pretty new, only a month old. The ETA Quartet with Jeff Parker, the Enfield Tennis Academy, their second live recording, of course, with Anna Butters, one of the great bassists today, if not the best. Josh Johnson on amplified alto sax and samples, and Jay Belrose, drums, cymbals, percussion. 1 track for each side, a double LP on International Anthem. I agree, they are kind of like the Strata East of our times. They really are doing great work, minus the dumb hype stickers or the obies, but we can live with it. This one's great. Another great one. Takes you on a journey. A live recording. You can hear that's a live recording. This club is now closed, but if you love the Enfield Tennis Academy record on Eremite, you absolutely have to get this. This is going to knock you out. Okay. Number 2. It was either be this. Well, 1 and 2 could have flip-flopped. Shellac to All Trains. The best shellac record, bar none to me, and I love most of the shellac. Some of them are just good, not great, and then there's great ones, and this is one of the great ones. Of course, we lost Albini just a week later, or I'm sorry, a week before. This came out in May. I still have a lot more Albini to discuss, and I plan to do a lot more Albini in 2025, because I haven't forgotten, for sure. On Touch and Go, we'll all talk about this record. If you don't have it, I would get it. And my number 1, I put it in one of my recent vinyl absorptions, Nala Sinefro Endlessness. Gotta get her first album. This is her second record. And yeah, this is an Alice Coltrane tour de force style spiritual jazz record. And boy, is it just knocked me out. It just put me into another place. Really got me to pay attention. It's beautiful. She plays harp. She plays synth, she's piano, she's got Nubia Garcia on here, Lyle Barton, Sheila Maurice Gray, James Mollison, Morgan Simpson, Dwayne Killington, and Natsiet Wakili on Warp. Another Warp. A lot of Warp appearances. There's going to be more Warp in a bit, but this is a stunning record. It's, if you like spiritual jazz with some electronics, this is killer stuff on Warp. My number 1, Nala Sinefro, Endlessness. I'm going to flip that Matt Ball record. Let's hear some more amplified guitar. All right, I'm talking pretty quick here. I can go fast if I need to, and I know I make long videos, so we're going to blow through these archivals. But I first want to discuss a few reissues. If you've been paying attention, you know I'm not buying them anymore for the most part, or I'm selling a lot of them. But there were a couple that I bought, and I never said I wouldn't buy them, but they got to be the right thing. So I'll just show those real quick. This is a reissue of this Revolutionaries Records, Meditation and Dub. An exceptionally rare dub record. That's why I bought this. Arranged by Ossie Hibbert. The Revolutionaries is a classic dub record, classic dub group. Never been reissued before, and it's a very basic reissue. It's on... Who did this? I don't even know. I'm not going to look into it, but see if you can get this. It wasn't cheap. It was like $35 for this sort of budget reissue, but this is grade A Revolutionary stuff, so I grabbed it. I'll never come across this original. Impossible. So that I got. This one, I know a bunch of you got the Con Jamal. Give the vibe some. And this sounds good. I'm not really... There's tons of information. I don't love this sticker. And I didn't love some of the layout of the artwork, but that's fine. It sounds great. Of course, this is a Palm release. Con Jamal. So I just want to make mention. See, I did buy a couple of reissues. And glad to have that until I get that Palm record. The Palm original. So here's Archival records, and I will definitely be buying Archival records because these are first pressings, right? Either never been on CD, never been released, old music. And this one never was on CD until this year. Roy Montgomery Temple 4, of course, of Pin Group, and Nocturnal Projections, Dodamon, Roy Montgomery. Just a guitar synthesis, we'll say. You know him when you hear him. He's one of those guys. And this is beautiful stuff. Recorded this after his wife passed away, and upon making a visit to the Far East, he recorded this in New York. So it's very much influenced about that trip and about his wife passing. But it was recorded in New York in the 90s, and so this is the first time on vinyl on the Great Cranky label. I found this to be incredible. I'm surprised Moore didn't talk about this. But it's the first time release of Richard Teitelbaum's Asparagus, and I talked about this on one of the streams I did where I was promoting new releases, which I hope to bring back and do that again. It turned out doing that was fairly risky for me, so I have to be careful with how many new records I buy. But anyway, this is Teitelbaum's soundtrack to the 1978 film Asparagus with Takahisa Kosugi of Taj Mahal Travelers, Steve Lacy, George Lewis, and Steve Potts. They play on this, and they play on the original soundtrack, but it includes two sides of Teitelbaum's modular Moog and Polymoog synths, recorded in Toronto in 75 and 76. The soundtrack includes all those players, and then that's on side 3. Side 4 is a brand new recording. Again, recorded at Bearsville, New York by Teitelbaum before he died. Or recorded at his home, I think, after he died. I think he died a few years ago. But this includes the great cellist Lila Boudreau, Alvin Curran, Daniel Fishkin, Miguel Frasconi, and Matt Sargent. And that side 4 is great. I cannot recommend this enough. This came out on Black Truffle. Yep. Beautiful. This is great. This is absolutely up there for one of my favorite records this year. This is my favorite archival release. I already talked about it. I'll link to the video. Rodelius at 90. More archival music by the great Hans-Joachim Rodelius. Essential stuff. I talked all about it. Check out my feed. I love this Gastr Soul. Not... If you've never heard Gastr Soul or don't have any of their records, I probably wouldn't start with this, but this is a great archival set, a 3LP set. We have dozens of titles, all from the 90s. Great shot here. You can see Jim O'Rourke and David Grubbs there. Yeah, unreleased music. So if you need more of their music, this is a good place to go. I bet this is still available. This is not still available, and I'm surprised to see that it's already way up in value. First time vinyl issue of Songs of Ohio's Protection Spells, I think from 2000. One of the more harrowing. They're all harrowing. They're all difficult, but all excellent. Songs of Ohio, Jason Molina. He passed away in 2009. This is of that same later period before they become Magnolia Electric Company. Similar to Didn't It Rain, where it's like super sparse and heavy duty. Essentially, if you like Songs of Ohio, you really should be after this. But yeah, this is out of print, and there's only one pressing, black vinyl, which I like. So See if you can find it if you're interested. This was an excellent Peel session. Just look at that. Ariel M, Papa M. 3 tracks, all recorded in the 90s with Cassie Merritt, future Cassie Berman, David Berman's wife, Tim Furnish, and Tony Bailey. Great recording. This sounds really, really great. Man, I love it. And it gives you a whole breakdown, really, of what Ariel M, Papa M, David Pajo was doing. And up close is all the different projects he's played in. Pretty much. They repeat, but you can get a look there. I have a lot of this, but not all. I have a lot of Papa M, David Pajo. I'm a big fan. On Drag City, of course. Here's a great one that was on cassette only. Daniel Boutet. This is called Daniel Boutet out of Montreal. What is this called? Pieces. On the Freedom to Spend label. Another great label. And this is really good. Sort of lo-fi minimal synth with like a sort of modern composition, modern classical sort of take. This is probably, you can probably get this easily. You can probably get this all day long, in fact, on the Freedom to Spend label. I really enjoyed this. This is from 1985, the cassette, originally first time on vinyl. Got to bring up a Neil Young and Crazy Horse archival release. Yes, there were many, including the Archives 3. Archives 3 does not make my final list, but this early days record does. One of the early sessions with Danny Whitten, Crazy Horse, Billy Talbot, Ralph Molina. Danny Whitten would die a few years later from heroin overdose, but he's featured here, doing a lot of the songs right around the time they recorded. Everybody knows This Is Nowhere. You have a different take of Cinnamon Girl. You have Helpless on here. You have a different take of Down by the River, Winter Long, which wouldn't come out until the 80s. Everybody's Alone, which is an amazing track if you don't know it. But the track is the track to really focus in on here is Look at All the Things. And it's Danny Whitten's song, recorded for the very first Crazy Horse record, which you can hear on the first Crazy Horse record. But this is a version with Neil Young on it. He's not on that Crazy Horse version. He's on this. And together, them singing this, primo. Absolute primo. So early days, Neil Young Archives. This came out over the summer, I believe. This is definitely one of the archival releases you want. Speaking of archival, but live, of course, we have the official release. I have the bootleg too. Alice Coltrane at Carnegie Hall on Impulse. Great. What can you say? I mean, of course this is going to be good. Alice Coltrane, Pharoah Sanders, Archie Shepp, Jimmy Garrison, Ed Blackwell, Kumar Kramer on the harmonium, February 21st, 1971. Don't forget about this one if it came out earlier in the year. Beautiful music. Anything else Coltrane, you got to give serious time to. And last but not least, certainly, I think I have this as like my, between this and Rodelia, this is my 2 favorite archival releases, but the 2 broadcast records. I talked a bunch about Spell Blanket when I did the whole broadcast feature, but I didn't really talk about Distant Call. This came out in October. Collected demos 2000, 2006. Oh, sorry, actually, the first collection was a double from 2006 to 2009. I'd say this is probably the stronger of the 2. Spell Blanket that came out earlier, but there's still plenty of cool stuff on Distant Call, including some really early, very lo-fi versions of songs that sound completely different than what she would do, like Pendulum. It's hard to, you only know it when you hear the lyrics. And yeah, it's just the last we're going to get for Trish Keenan. This is it now. But to hear her composing, at the start of composing these songs, in their very sort of nascent, sort of, very broken down version, it's so cool to hear. For me, I got to hear anything that Broadcast has done. So these both are absolutely amazing records to check out if you haven't already. So I'm going to end it there. Keep it a little snappy. It was definitely still a long video. But again, link to my radio show where I played a lot of this music. Link below to the full list is typed out below. So you can have it that if you want to check any of those out. And thanks to everyone who's been doing these. I still have a bunch to watch. But hit me in the comments if there's anything that I missed that maybe is like, according to what you saw here, maybe there's something you'd be like, hey, you should have heard this. Let me know. Let me know what you think. I really appreciate everybody. We're at the end of the year here. I got one more video. It may come out after the first, but we'll see. my recap of 2024's targeted list of heavy-duty records working on my Grail Cube. Take care.